All right, welcome to the Sports Mashup number 92, January 4th, 2023, the first one of the new year. So I guess we're within the time frame to say Happy New Year to the people listening. But there's a date that expires for that, probably in like a week. But anyway, we'll start in the NBA as the Lakers, who are pretty much a one-player team at this point. LeBron scores 47 on his birthday, which I believe is December 30th.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's pretty much every night. I mean, the Lakers have one player.
He had like 35 or something in their Christmas matchup.
Yeah. He's been really good this year, but the team is just not it's not the best situation, I would say.
No, like Anthony Davis getting hurt. And I saw a tweet or something yesterday that he's a first ballot Hall of Famer, and I'm like, huh?
He's got the talent, but the numbers are not going to be there at the end of his career because he gets hurt too much.
Yeah.
And he has a ring, but it's a fake ring. Let's be honest. I mean, come on. It's not a totally fake ring, but it's a pretty fake ring.
Well, he only played like 30 games that year.
Yeah. CJ McCollum takes a bow after hitting 11 threes and finishing with 42 for the Pelicans. I almost forgot what team he was on for a second, but yeah.
Yeah, and then going into the Pelicans.
And then Zion Williamson's out at least 3 weeks with a hamstring strain.
Mm-hmm.
So not great. The Pelicans right now have been one of the better teams in the West, which isn't surprising. They have a pretty deep roster. They're one of the deeper teams, I would say, in the Western Conference, especially with some of the young talent. They have like Herb Jones and Jose Alvarado. They're 23-14, third in the West, a game out of the top seed behind Denver and Memphis. So they have lost 2 in a row, though.
With his injury here, like basically he'll come back right before or after the All-Star break.
Yeah. And then full steam ahead into the playoffs.
Yeah. And it could see a different offense from him for a couple weeks or a month.
Yeah.
But if CJ McCollum's knocking down 11 threes,
changes things.
And then Luka with his third 50-point game in 5 games. This young stud is setting high standards.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are starting to be like, okay, nobody's playing defense, especially with Donovan Mitchell's game, which we'll get to. But I'm not going to go fully into the defense. But I think when you're doing it at this level and this consistently, I mean, I think you have to give props to the guys like Luka.
I mean, after we talked about it last week, his big stat line, Popovich is like, I want to hold him to under 50. And he had 49 for the longest time and then made 2 free throws to get over 50. And Pop's reaction when he got over 50 is like, we had him under 50.
Almost.
Giannis, an elite company with back-to-back 40, 20, and 5 games, joins Wilt and Elgin Baylor as third to do so.
I
mean, that's pretty elite company.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you can get up there with Wilt, especially considering how insane Wilt's numbers were because of who he was playing against at the time, was a big factor. Not to take anything away from Wilt's greatness, but pretty elite company, and Elgin Baylor as well.
And then Donovan Mitchell scores 71 points in an overtime win over the Bulls. His stat line, he was 22 of 34 from the field, 7 of 15 from the three-point line, 20 of 25 from the free throw line, 8 rebounds, 11 assists.
Yeah. I'm not as impressed as everybody else, but
and the Pelicans,
because I'm a hater.
Pelicans got PED tested the next day.
Well, that's just a given in sports at this point, especially in the NFL and the NBA. Let me just say this. I saw a poll on YouTube when I was scrolling down one of the channels that I subscribe to, had a poll, who's better right now between Devin Booker and Donovan Mitchell. Number 1, recency bias. Clearly people are going to vote for Mitchell. Number 2, have you seen what the Phoenix Suns look like without Devin Booker right now? Number 3, Devin Booker had 58 points against New Orleans, willed them to a victory like 2 weeks ago, shot less free throws than this. And then against the Bulls, he had 55 points and was more efficient and willed them to a victory. So
what's even more nuts too, it's like some of these guys that get these high point games are based mostly on like their free throws.
Yeah, I mean Booker when he scored 70, it was that way, but like the difference for me is against the Pelicans, he had 58 points and literally just completely took over the third quarter of that game. The Suns were dead. They were down 20 plus in that game. This was December 17th, not that long ago that he did this. He had 58 points, and from the free throw line, he made 10 free throws, which is not that many. He missed 5. If he would have made 5 more, he would have had 60 plus. 10 free throws when he scored 58 points. He had one less field goal than Donovan Mitchell did when he scored 71, and Booker scored 58. So I just don't understand why people are so like the recency bias is more surprising than it should be. Like Booker made 5 free throws when he scored 55 against the Bulls. 5 free throws, 20 for 25 from the field. Donovan Mitchell's a great player. I think Devin Booker's better. Call me as biased as you want, but I just think that's the case. I mean, I don't know who's had more playoff success. And say it's because of Chris Paul all you want. Devin Booker was elite in the NBA Finals when they lost. Chris Paul was not. Devin Booker was elite in the Western Conference Finals. Chris Paul was as well. I don't understand why the recency bias of a guy scoring 71 when he made 20 free throws, impressive 22 for 34 from the field is impressive, but I don't understand why people are so like the recency bias in the NBA is off the charts.
I forgot who it was. I saw a thing. He's the third shooting guard to score over 60 points, who was also picked number 13th in the draft. There was Kobe. I forgot who the other one was. And
Booker
then
was 13th.
So it was Booker, Donovan Mitchell, and Kobe.
Yep.
But Donovan Mitchell, he scored or assisted on 99 of their points.
That's the impressive part.
It's the second most in NBA game in history behind Wilt Chamberlain in his 100-point game, which he only had 104. So he only assisted on 4 points. But
one thing I wanted to do with that was just turn the Donovan Mitchell 71-point game into how good Devin Booker is. I just wanted to do that real quick. So we can move along. On to the NFL. Week 17 recap is in session.
Do we want to say anything before we get into the recap?
We could. Yeah, we could. A lot of people are obviously talking about this with the DeMar Hamlin situation on Monday Night Football where he gets hit in the chest, collapses, CPR.
Well, gets hit, stands up, fixes his helmet, and then collapses.
Yeah. Cardiac arrest, obviously, goes to the hospital. The game doesn't resume, rightfully so. I think it took them too long to even decide that. You could see from the reaction of the players in the field that they weren't going to want to play.
Well, and then you had some sideline person from the NFL trying to tell people they had 5 minutes to warm up. So you saw Burrow warming up. You had Stephon Diggs trying to get his team back in. But then you've got one of the sideline reporters' phones. They're on a call, and you got Zach Taylor and
McDermott.
McDermott. They were on they were together on the phone with Goodell. And I'm pretty sure at that point they probably said the game was postponed.
Yeah.
Because after they went in locker rooms, one of the Southern reporters already reported that Stephon Diggs was already in a towel.
Yeah.
So the players knew. But I had missed the part of this game because fantasy-wise, I'm like, I don't even want to watch it because he needs 2 guys to score for me to lose the championship. I flipped onto the game, and it was Booger talking, and I'm like, why is he talking? And then I saw it, and then went to Twitter and then see what happened.
Yeah, just a horrible situation, obviously. Hopefully he is okay. Obviously still in the hospital.
The latest thing I saw was
seems like positive thoughts.
Showing signs of progress, a friend says. So
yeah. That's good, obviously. I will say that the Buffalo Bills 3 minutes ago said Damar Hamlin remains in the ICU in critical condition with signs of improvement noted yesterday and overnight. He's expected to remain under intensive care as his healthcare team continues to monitor and treat him. So,
and I'm guessing he's still in Cincinnati. They're
yeah,
not moving him anywhere.
yeah. So hopefully he makes it. And
But,
obviously the NFL is behind him.
What's nuts is there's the 4 scariest injuries in the NFL have all happened on that field. You had Antonio Brown when he got knocked out from Perfect.
Yeah.
Ryan Shazier's injury happened there.
Mm-hmm.
Tua, his big concussion. And then this one.
Well, it always seems like a night game too, because I think Shazier and AB weren't those Monday night games? Monday night or Sunday night games, and then Tua was a Thursday night game. This is a Monday night game, but obviously this one very serious.
Like that's NFL history, the scariest injuries, and they all happened on Cincinnati's field.
Yeah, it's bizarre. Not that it's anything to do with the field; it's just one of those weird coincidences.
Yeah, that 4 the scariest injuries happened on that one field.
Yeah. All right. So thoughts are obviously with Damar Hamlin, the NFL, the Bills, and hopefully it works out. Obviously, everybody's behind him there. So, all right, tough transition. Thursday Night Football.
The Cowboys beat the Titans 27-13. Cowboys pull away late in pull away late from a third-string quarterback for the Titans.
Who's going to start this week?
What's wrong with Malik Willis?
I thought we read last week that he just decided not to start him, and it seems like they're doing that again this week. It's very weird. I don't know. I have to wonder what the Titans front office thinks of that. But then you remember the GM that drafted him is obviously not there anymore because he was fired a couple weeks ago. I'll be honest, I didn't watch a second of this football game. Maybe the first Thursday night game all year that I didn't watch any.
I didn't watch any of it.
No. So, I mean, what can you say? The Cowboys should have, rightfully won. They covered the 10.5, unfortunately, because I picked Tennessee. I think you might have too.
I did.
Yeah, but if Malik Willis is there, the Cowboys are losing that game outright. I will confirm that for everybody right now.
Well, that's what I figured. That Willis was playing, and it was going to be at least a game.
Well, Josh Dobbs starting again this week too. So great. I don't think Vrabel's going to get fired, but you have to wonder if, maybe there's a discussion about it. A huge collapse.
Well, I mean, they've had so many injuries. I mean, they lost their key defensive piece right before the season that they have, like a month after he signed his deal.
I'll say this. He's not going to get fired, but I think that it'll be a make or break going into next season because they're going to have a new GM.
And then, what's going to go on with Taylor Lewan?
He's going to get cut. He knows it. He said it on the Pardon My Take podcast last week. He said, I'm getting cut. I know it. Getting out in front of it. I mean, he's got 2 ACLs the last 3 years. New GM, big contract. He's going to get cut, unfortunately. Maybe retire. I don't know. He'll retire before Will Compton does, though. I guarantee it.
Yeah, I don't know if he'll retire. I mean, he's still a good left tackle.
Yeah, he just can't stay healthy.
For my team for the Bucks, I would take him over Donovan Smith because he doesn't get a holding penalty every drive.
And you wouldn't be facing Chandler Jones.
I mean, they had a 40-yard completion in the game Sunday, and whoop, Donovan Mitchell holding.
Would have been real annoying for my fantasy team if Mike Evans had any of those touchdowns called back because of Donovan Smith, but he didn't, so that's good. All right, Falcons, another game that I didn't really pay attention to. Falcons beat the Cardinals 20-19. I believe it was a last-second field goal for Younghoe Koo.
It was.
Cardinals remain a disaster. They stayed in the game late, though. David Blau at quarterback. This is their 20th quarterback in the last 3 years, probably. So there you go.
Which we thought when we picked this game.
I think Colt McCoy was healthy. He just didn't start.
Yeah, you thought McCoy was going to start.
Yeah.
Because I think when we picked, we were like, it was McSorley, and you were like, McCoy is healthy. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah, very weird. But neither of these teams is going anywhere right now, so pretty much draft position game.
And then the Lions beat the Bears 41-10. I just wrote, do the Lions have to do them that dirty? And then tanking process for the Bears?
Well,
I mean, the Lions were up, and they just kept pouring it on.
it was 10-3 Bears early, and then the Lions just completely took the game over. Fields struggled a little bit, took some hits, threw an interception to Hutchinson.
And like last week, it was I don't know what the tight end's name was, and this week it was a different tight end, another unheard of tight end getting 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, the Bears are executing a good tank, so they're starting Peterman this week, so they're probably going to go 3-14. Then if the Colts lose to the Texans, the Bears have the number 1 pick. So
I remember at one point, like I watched Red Zone, and at one point they showed Peterman on the sideline with his helmet on warming up, and Fields without his helmet. So I thought he was going to come in, and then that's when Fields went back in and threw a pick.
yeah, I think maybe one of the top 5 interesting storylines would be if the Bears got the number 1 pick, because I don't know what they would do with it, because a lot of talk has been if the Bears get a top 3 pick, they're going to trade it. Do they trade out of number 1? I mean, maybe.
Why would you not take like a defensive stud?
Because I don't know if there's one that's like really worth the value of number 1.
That dude from Bama?
I think I would do it, but I'm not sure that they would. I think it's either Jalen Carter from Georgia or Will Anderson from Bama. I don't know if the Bears would do that at 1, though. I think they probably want more picks, especially since they essentially traded the number 34 pick for Chase Claypool, or 33, depending on where they're at. So I have to think that they might trade out of that, but that would be very fascinating. If it's a very real scenario that they get the number 1 pick. Chiefs beat the Broncos 27-24. Chiefs are really struggling to put teams away. And Russell Wilson did play well for once, so good for him. Even though he had some terrible throws where he's like about to get sacked and just tosses it in the air. He did that twice that I saw.
Yeah. And then, like, Mahomes tried getting fancy in a couple of throws that hurt him. Like, he threw that pick where he tried throwing it sidearm and threw it way behind the receiver.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they'll clean things up once they get to the playoffs. But
that, and I think next week they'll get Edwards-Helaire back, which I don't know how you're gonna use him because McKinnon's playing crazy.
Yeah.
But at least you'll have that other safety valve and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. But then it comes like, why did Ronald Jones go there?
There's a lot of running backs. Like the last 5 years,
running back depth is so big there. It's like, are you ring chasing?
Pacheco there too. But there's been like 5 years of running backs going there who are bigger name running backs that have been starters before doing nothing. Le'Veon Bell went there, did nothing. So
LaShawn McCoy got a ring there, then went to the Bucs, got a ring there.
They always bring in that veteran that's like, oh, he might be the starter, and then he like doesn't really do anything. Happens like every year. I wonder who it'll be next year.
Wow. With the backs they have now, I don't know if you even bring somebody else.
They'll bring in like Adrian Peterson or something somehow.
At retirement.
Yeah.
The Patriots beat the Dolphins 23-21. Patriots D comes up big again. Couldn't make the playoffs.
Yeah, Dolphins started 8-3. They're 8-8 now.
Which I think Teddy Bridgewater got knocked out of this game. So now
Skylar Thompson is probably going to start this week, which is just tough in a win to get into the playoff situation.
And they have to play
the Jets.
The Jets
are -1 on the road. Yeah. Which the Jets probably, I mean, if you're the Jets, you'd throw Zach Wilson out there, right? I mean, you have to. You're out already. You have to throw him out there. Last chance. If you're going to trade him, you got to show something. If you're going to keep him, you got to show something. Mike White looked horrible against the Seahawks.
Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen there.
If they don't start Zach Wilson, I would fire everybody. I'm just saying.
And then your coach's brother is getting a bunch of flack for he's the offensive coordinator for the Jets, but he's lost Breece Hall. This whole quarterback situation is screwing them around.
They have maybe 1 or 2 receivers that are like, okay, we can rely on these guys. Garrett Wilson and I guess Elijah Moore. Yeah,
what happened to Corey Davis?
Is he even like? I haven't even seen him do anything. I think he's.
That's what I'm saying. Like, what happened to him?
Hurt, and their offensive line's taking a step back from earlier in the season because of injuries. They don't have Elijah Vera Tucker.
They messed up by not re-signing Jameson Crowder.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. They have a lot of receivers that are like Crowder. They're like Elijah Moore's pretty similar, and Braxton Berrios as well. But they have 2 tight ends that are usable with Conklin and the Uzama, I guess.
DJ.
Yeah, their defense has regressed a little bit, but their defense has given them enough this season to where you're like, okay, they should have won more games. But I don't know. I feel like it's obviously a step in the right direction for the Jets because they weren't eliminated until the second to last week of the season, and they were 7-4 at one point. But yeah, just an interesting situation there. I would assume LaFleur's done though. Giants Colts. Giants beat the Colts 38-10. They clinch a playoff berth with a beatdown of the Colts, and there's no doubt about it. The Colts are going to be looking for a new head coach and probably a new quarterback for next season.
Yeah, and there's this talk. This might be where Sean Payton goes.
I mean, the whole Sean Payton thing is weird because, like, how much are teams going to be willing to give up to get him? Because he's still with the Saints, so it'd have to be a trade.
Well, how many years left on Matt Ryan's contract? Maybe they'll send Matt Ryan to.
Jesus.
They'll send Matt Ryan to New Orleans.
Let me ask you this: are the Colts going to set a record for starting quarterbacks within like a 5-year span? Because like it's getting insane.
I mean, they kind of messed up letting Phillip Rivers go. He went 11-5 with them.
They didn't go to the playoffs that year and almost won. But
they got rid of Jacoby Brissett.
Andrew Luck, Jacoby Brissett, Phillip Rivers, Carson Wentz, Matt Ryan, Sam Ehlinger, Nick Foles. I mean, that's just off the top of my head the ones that I can name.
Yeah, so I'm guessing Ehlinger is going to start this week.
I would assume so. Matt Ryan has 1 year left after the season with a cap hit of $35.2 million. Like, Jesus.
And then Thibodeau's sack celebration, I don't think he knew that Foles was knocked out when he was doing the Snow Angel. But when he went to the sideline, it was doing the sleepy thing.
It didn't look good, no. But if you're the Colts, if Matt Ryan doesn't retire, do you do a transition year? You bring in a new head coach and then just kind of throw away the first year and then figure it out after that? Or do you – I don't even know what you do.
Do you keep Matt Ryan and draft a guy and let the guy – if, say, Sean Payton goes there, let that guy sit behind and learn Payton's offense for a year?
I think that guy needs to be C.J. Stroud. I think that makes a lot of sense to me. But I don't know. I don't know what they'll do. Or they could be a team that tries to go all in and make a trade with the Bears, get the number 1 pick, get Bryce Young. I don't know. But I think Bryce Young's a guy who, if he's drafted number 1, he needs to go somewhere and sit. I think that's the best way because, guys like him, a little bit undersized, but everything else is great. Kyler Murray is the type that shouldn't have gone straight in and played right away. He's been good at times, but I hope Bryce Young doesn't end up in Houston and plays right away.
Yeah. And then you had the Saints beat the Eagles 20-10. Might be the most shocking game of the year.
Certainly makes a good case for how valuable Jalen Hurts is to the Eagles. Minshew had a tough one here.
They showed some in the second half. I mean, A.J. Brown touchdown was just a horrible coverage.
Yeah.
But other than that, they barely moved the ball. The Saints should have had way more than 20, but it was Taysom Hill again instead of them using their normal offense.
A lot of people have been like, hey, maybe the Saints will fire Dennis Allen after 1 year and bring Sean Payton back to coach them. But I don't think he wants to coach them. And I think they want to keep Dennis Allen. And, they haven't been very good this season, but look at kind of what they're working with on offense. Not a lot. I mean, you got a rookie wide receiver.
I think the only way Sean Payton comes back there is if they can get a quarterback.
Yeah, and I don't know if they will. So,
but they're talking about the whole Sean Payton Brady thing still.
I mean, if that I don't know where that would even happen at this point. Maybe Vegas. It's the only place I could think of where that would even have a chance of happening.
It could happen in New Orleans.
Well, the Saints aren't going to trade Sean Payton to the Bucs unless the Bucs are
I'm saying Brady's only on a 1-year deal.
Yeah.
He would go to New Orleans.
Yeah. The Browns beat the Commanders 24-10. The Commanders are eliminated as Carson Wentz was horrible. I think starting Carson Wentz in that game is a fireable offense for Ron Rivera. And also in the postgame presser, not knowing that they could have been eliminated that day. He's like, oh, we could be eliminated? Yeah, if the Packers beat the Vikings, you're out. Oh, okay. Didn't know.
Yeah, I did just see something.
Sam Howell.
Heineke is going to start. Or no, now they're saying they're going to start How?
Yeah.
But when I just looked a second ago, it said that Heineke would start and Howe would come in.
I'm being told that he's starting. Let's just say this. I mean, would they have been worse off with Sam Howell starting last week? Because Carson Wentz is a horrible quarterback. He's not good.
No, and it killed fantasy. Like, I mean, yeah, I have McLaurin, I had Dotson on the bench, and I had Brian Robinson, and then every time they got to the goal line, Wentz wanted to run everything. And then he stole that touchdown away from Brian Robinson by doing the QB sneak.
Well, props to the Browns helping my team out. I appreciate it. Pretty worthless in almost every other aspect of the sport, but they got it done there.
I mean, I sat Nick Chubb because of Washington's defense. I mean, he didn't have a great game. He had one big run, but he didn't get a score.
Yeah.
You had the Jaguars beat the Texans 31-3. This game was over from the kickoff.
Yeah, I don't think we need to spend too much time here. The Texans are bad. The Jags are good. And even in a game where it didn't even matter for the Jags, they could have lost and it wouldn't have mattered for their chances to win the division. And they just dominate the Texans.
Yeah. Trevor Lawrence didn't even have like that big of a fantasy day either, and he played 3 quarters.
Yep. Travis Etienne, boom.
And then he sat after halftime. So people were depending on him in fantasy. Well, all you got was his first half.
I almost wonder if they should start making the fantasy football championships in the third to last week of the season. I don't know. It would matter.
I mean, there's some leagues that you could do it where it's this next week is the championship week.
Screw that. Would make it more random for sure.
That you'd be picking up guys that are backups.
Yeah. The Bucs beat the Panthers 30-24, similar to most games for the Bucs this season, but I think they took control of the game earlier in the second half than they usually do. Mike Evans had a huge game. Bucs clinched the NFC South, and now they'll be playing the Cowboys most likely in the wild card round. So
yeah, at first it looked like the Panthers were going to run away with it, and then finally Brady and Evans got it going. Then they got a fumble.
And Sam Darnold became Sam Darnold in the second half.
Yeah, they had the fumble, which they should have scored on. They only got a field goal out of it, and then they just turned it up.
The greatest punt of all time that didn't count from Camarda late.
Who is probably one of the best punters this year.
Yeah, and it was the penalties that the Bucs were taking on that last sequence saved them probably because it ran some time off the clock. It didn't save them, but it definitely made it easier for the Panthers to have no time left.
Yeah. Camarda's the bad snap and then him running, punting it, getting called back. And then when he punted again, he downed it at like the 5 anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, but
so they ran time off from him running around doing that.
Yeah.
And then getting to repunt it.
There was 2 penalties, I think. There's a penalty before that on the first attempt, and then that was the second attempt, and then they got it off. So that was like 20 seconds right there.
Yeah.
So that helped.
You had the Seahawks beat the Jets 23-6. Seahawks still look good. Yes, against an I don't know Jets team.
Yeah, the first play of the game kind of made it was like, okay, this might not be good for the Jets because Kenneth Walker went like 80 yards on a run. The Seahawks need the Lions to win, and the Seahawks need to win to get into the playoffs. So the Seahawks will not know their fate until the very end because of the Packers and Lions game on Sunday night. I don't know. I mean, I would think it'd be interesting to see Geno Smith in the playoffs. I don't know how likely it is, but they would need to beat the Rams, and then obviously need the Lions to go into Lambeau and beat the Packers. I don't know if that'll happen, but
they're just not healthy. Like Lockett's hands still bothering him. Metcalf's been iffy.
Yeah,
they were missing Will Dissly and another tight end last week.
They shouldn't have any problems with the Rams, though.
You never know. You never know which Baker's showing up.
True. I mean, they scored 10 points last week after scoring 51 the week before, but you would think the Seahawks would also show up in a home game against a lesser opponent with a chance to get into the playoffs, I would think. But you never know. The Packers beat the Vikings 41-17. Packers defense and special teams dominate in a game that this was not as close as 41-17. The Vikings scored 2 garbage time touchdowns. This was essentially 41-10 is what I would say the actual final score should have been.
And your Packers did lock down Justin Jefferson, or
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins just wasn't looking at him, because he had, at one point I saw he had 1 catch for 15 yards on 5 targets.
Yeah, I would say it could be a mix of both, but I think when Jair Alexander was jamming him off the line, getting physical with him, I think there's only a few elite receivers in the league that like to be that physical. And I'm not saying this makes Jefferson a worse player. I just think that he gets a little uncomfortable with it, because if you look at some of the routes,
Where'd Jair go to college?
Louisville.
Oh, okay.
A weird place, yeah.
Well, I was wondering if for some reason he was an LSU guy, so if they practiced against each other all the time.
Jair would have been good in the SEC, but he was in the ACC, so not great. But yeah, I mean, I just don't think Jefferson liked the physicality. I think also Kirk Cousins was bad. I think his second interception was a target to Jefferson. I don't know if he would have completed it, but it got tipped and then picked by Amos. And then another one where it would have been a pick if it would have got completed. Another one that got tipped at the line that was going to Jefferson. So, yeah, I think they did a great job against Jefferson. The Packers' offense was not that good in this game. They ran the ball pretty well, but Rodgers only had 159 yards. So I think that says a lot about how good the defense was. Obviously, special teams, they start by having the Packers getting a punt blocked and the Vikings starting out from the 1-yard line, only getting a field goal. That was huge. And obviously, Keyshawn Nixon with the return for a touchdown.
Didn't Watson drop a wide open touchdown?
He had one that was off of his helmet and another one that was slightly overthrown, but also Watson got held on one that was the one that was overthrown down the sideline. He got grabbed right when Rodgers threw it, so that threw the timing off. But then there was another one that was pretty well defended. Watson probably should have caught it in the end zone, but he just missed it. But yeah,
with this game, I did see the other day that Clinton Dix is officially retiring and said he wants to retire as a Packer.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, but good for him. He was pretty good here, I guess. I don't know.
He felt like, it seemed like he had a short career.
Yeah, it wasn't that long. Probably like 7 years, maybe.
Yeah, and then he was with the Packers for 4.
And then Washington and Chicago, I think that was it pretty much. So, yeah. But the Packers are playing their best ball, and we'll see if it carries over into a win-and-in scenario. I mean, they were 4-8. I don't really know how they're here, but they are, so we'll see.
The Chargers beat the Rams 31-10. Herbert, great first half. Rams may be tanking now.
Well, they'd be tanking for like a 4th-round pick. Do they even have like their first couple picks?
I have no idea.
They would be tanking for the Lions because the Lions have their first. So they do have a second round. They're tanking for a second-round pick pretty much because right now they're 37th in the can you imagine if the Rams traded for Christian McCaffrey in October? Whew, that would have been a disaster because they would have given up even more picks. Man, they're lucky the Niners swooped in. But the Chargers, yeah. I wouldn't want to face them in the playoffs. I'll say that they're the AFC team that I wouldn't want to face if I'm a division winner.
No, and if they can get all their defensive guys back healthy, J.C. Jackson and...
Are they the 5 seed right now or the 6 seed? Because we could be looking at Jags Chargers in the first round if they're the 5 seed.
Correct. They are the 5 seed.
Jags Chargers, Titans Chargers. If you're the Chargers, I'd rather play the Jags.
They're both, or them and the Ravens are 10-6. So, I mean, if the Chargers lose and the Ravens win, they would flip.
Ravens are playing the Browns. Chargers are playing the Broncos, I think.
I can do that. Just say it.
That's correct because the Chiefs are playing the Raiders.
Ravens are playing the Bengals.
Bengals. Okay, yeah. I was almost on that one. But, yeah. The Niners beat the Raiders 37-34 in overtime. Jarrett Stidham played pretty well overall, but Devontae Adams broke the single-season wide receiver yards record for the Raiders, but the Niners win it after Stidham throws an interception in overtime. Robbie Gould missed a field goal to end regulation, but made up for it with a short one to win it in overtime. And this likely prevents the Vikings from playing the Packers or Lions or Seahawks in the first round, so they're probably going to end up playing the Giants. But yeah, Niners likely 2 seed, I would think, after this win.
Sunday Night Football, you had the Steelers beat the Ravens 16-13. I didn't watch this game, but Steelers could possibly make the playoffs.
Yeah, I will confirm that I think Kenny Pickett is a guy. Big plays down the stretch in this game. And if you're a Steelers fan, this is probably all you wanted to see from him. And he got it done, and they very well could be a playoff team.
And they the Ravens are they clinched a wild card. Do you play Lamar next week, or do you just rest him until the playoffs?
I would assume that you probably don't play him, but I would also want him to get some reps. So I don't know. I think that's a tough decision there.
And then, of course, Monday Night Football game was postponed, but we don't know if this game's even going to get made up or anything. It's going to be voided.
Who knows? Yeah, who knows?
So the NFC picture, you have the Vikings clinch division, Niners clinch division, Eagles clinch playoff berth, Bucks clinch division, Cowboys playoff berth, Giants playoff berth, and the bubble in the NFC is the Seahawks, Lions, and Packers.
And the scenario there obviously is Seattle needs to win. They need Detroit to lose to get in. Detroit needs to win, needs Seattle to lose to get in. And the Packers are a win and in team. So all they have to do is win and nothing else matters. So that's for the 7th seed there. In the AFC, the Bills, Chiefs both clinched the divisions. The Ravens and Bengals both clinched playoff berths. The Chargers are in with a playoff spot. And then the bubble is the Jaguars, Patriots, Dolphins, Steelers, and Titans. Jaguars, Titans battle for the division Saturday night. The Patriots, I don't know all the scenarios in the AFC. I think the Patriots would need to
Let's see. The Patriots are playing the Bills.
Patriots need to beat the Bills, need the Jets to beat the Dolphins, I assume, would be that one. And then the Steelers would need to
yeah, because currently the Patriots are at the 7. The Dolphins need or win tiebreak over Pittsburgh. Patriots wins tiebreak over Pittsburgh based on head-to-head win percentage, division tiebreak over Miami.
If the Steelers win and the Patriots and Dolphins lose, I would assume that gets the Steelers in.
Well, because the other teams are both 8-8.
Yeah.
All 3 of those teams are 8-8.
Yeah.
And I mean, the Titans, the only way they're in is they would win their division. But then Jacksonville could they would be 8-9. So,
yeah, should be interesting week 18 for sure. We'll make picks on that later. Let's do now let's get into the golf.
Yeah, this week you have the Century Tournament champions. Defending champion Cameron Smith will not be playing. Kapalua Resort Plantation Course in Kapalua, Hawaii.
Yeah, always a very exciting way to start the new year, I think, in the golf world, kind of getting back into the swing of things. You got all the champions from last year playing in this tournament. Obviously, the only ones that aren't playing in this tournament that would have been able to is Rory and Shane Lowry, I believe, are the only 2 that aren't decided not to play.
And then, is Tiger playing this year at all, or?
I would assume Tiger's probably playing the majors. I don't know if he would play anything else, but there you go. All right, we'll make picks on that later as well. College hoops.
New top 25. Purdue at 1, who lost Monday night.
Yep.
Houston up 1 to number 2. Kansas up 1 to 3. UConn down 2 to 4 after losing Xavier. And Arizona State's put at 5.
Let's see. Texas is 6. They just lost, though. Alabama 7, up 1. Tennessee down 1 to 8. Gonzaga and UCLA both up 1 to 9 and 10.
Virginia up 2 to 11. Miami up 2 to 12. Arkansas down 4 to 13. Wisconsin up 1 to 14. Indiana up 1 to 15.
Duke and TCU up 1 to 16 and 17. Xavier up 3 to 18. Baylor down 7 to 19. Missouri finally, rightfully so, getting ranked up to 20.
Yeah, after being unranked.
Yeah.
New Mexico up 2-21. Auburn down 2-22. And then Charleston, Ohio State, and Iowa State come into the top 25 after being unranked.
Yeah, things will be changing, though. New Mexico lost last night. Purdue and New Mexico both lost this week, so there's no more undefeated teams left. Plus, you had UConn losing as well on Saturday to Xavier. So different aspect right now. But Texas did lose to Kansas State 116-103 in regulation last night. So no defense being played. It broke a Big 12 record with 219 points, which was Texas versus Colorado at, what does that say, 199 in 2002.
Which I don't know if that was when KD was there.
No, that was a little bit before that.
It was 104-95 was the score in that game.
Well, Kansas State looks good. This is year one for Jerome Tang coming over from Baylor as their head coach. Keontae Johnson, who had the whole heart issue collapsing in that game with Florida a couple years ago.
He's playing well.
What do you have, 30 last night, I think? And they have Marcus Knoll from transfer from Little Rock from a couple years ago. Yeah, Kansas State looks really good. And Texas I think Texas is too inconsistent for me to consider them like a legitimate Final Four contender at this time.
And losing their head coach throws a wrench in that.
They were playing well without him for a little bit, but obviously the Big 12 is very tough. There's so many good teams at the top of the Big 12 right now, and the big thing is Baylor is not even that good right now. Like the Big 12, Kansas is elite. Kansas State looks really good. TCU's good. Iowa State's really good defensively. Texas is a good offense. They struggle defensively. Oklahoma State's a good defensive team, but they're 9-5. They almost beat Kansas last week. Baylor's been really inconsistent. Oklahoma, not bad. But the worst overall record in the Big 12 right now for any team is 9-5 Oklahoma State. So, like, you have 13-1, 13-1, 12-1, 10-2, 12-2, 9-5, 10-3, 9-4, 10-4, 10-4. Now, non-conference, obviously some teams playing weaker teams than others, but that doesn't change the fact that the Big 12 is the deepest conference in the country by far right now. But I would say the SEC might be the most elite at the top.
Yeah.
With Kentucky not being that good either right now. So it's a very bizarre situation in college basketball, but we'll get into all that more and more each week. Major League Baseball, we'll shift over there real quick. The offseason is still going on. You got spring training in like a month or so, month and a half, 2 months, whatever, getting closer, I guess. The Tigers did acquire infielder Tyler Nevin from the Orioles for cash. And the Marlins did add veteran infielder Gene Segura, 2 years, $17 million there. So solid deal for Miami.
Yeah, and then 10 MLB umpires retiring, most since 1999.
I'd want to get out of there too. They're about to have a less important job, I think.
If they have the robo
umpires, yeah, could happen.
Hopefully, one of these might have been old Joe West.
He's gone. Yeah. NHL 2023 Winter Classic, Fenway Park, January 2nd. Bruins and Penguins. The Bruins beat the Penguins 2-1 after trailing 1-0. I believe it was 1-0 into the third, right?
Yeah.
Their home point streak is up to 22. This was a home game, despite not being at the TD Garden. This was still in Boston, them hosting it, so they get the job done there.
Yeah, and they showed up cool. They were wearing the old retro Red Sox baseball uniforms, had the gloves, the bats.
Yeah. And then the Penguins showed up wearing garbage Pirates uniforms.
Yeah, and then you had the you had Wakefield and Veritek, old Red Sox players, and then you had Bobby Orr and Puchik. Even Bobby Orr hit a puck to Veritek wearing his catcher's glove. So that was pretty neat.
Yeah.
But yeah, they scored 7:46 in the third and then 17:36, both by DeBrusque. And Penguins goalie Jerry got hurt.
Yep.
In that game.
Yep. Brought in DeSmith. So,
like, he only had 8 shots at him. Jerry did. He played 15 and a half minutes.
I think it was maybe 60 degrees warmer in Boston for the 2023 Winter Classic than it was in Minnesota for the 2022 Winter Classic last year.
But and they had Char there. I forgot Char was there.
There was more scoring in last year's Winter Classic. I think the Blues beat the Wild like 6-3 or something like that. So
this was more of an actual rivalry game.
Yeah, the Blues and Wild is a
new rivalry.
Yeah, they did play in the playoffs last year, but it's definitely a little bit different because there's a lot more history with these two franchises just alone too. Like the Bruins are an original.
That's what I was getting at.
The Penguins have the Cups and the legendary players, and they've been around for a long. The Wild just haven't been around very long and have 0 cups. But anyway, the Blues do have a cup, and they will be without Ryan O'Reilly and Vladimir Tarasenko for a bit. They are 1-0 without them. They beat the Leafs in a shootout last night. Tarasenko has a hand injury. He'll be out 4 weeks. O'Reilly has a broken foot. He'll be out 6 weeks. Most interesting thing here is that these are two of the bigger names at the trade deadline this year. So if the Blues aren't in a playoff spot, which I don't think they will be, they're too inconsistent. These are two guys that could certainly be traded given the fact that they're both going to be free agents this summer. So
losing them and Krug.
Yeah. Not great, but they have a lot of depth. I think that their scoring hasn't really been coming from these two for a lot of the season. And Krug's been fine, just not very good defensively, which is what I expected, but they can survive without these guys. I don't know how they'll.
And then I saw a stat, Ovechkin and Crosby are tied in points. I think it was as of December 31st, they were tied in points for NHL points.
Yeah. Ovechkin has a lot more games played, though.
Yes, and more goals.
Yeah.
Crosby's got more assists, but it's like 1,400 and something points that they're tied at.
It's one of the greatest era battles. Like in certain sports, you always have one guy versus this guy, like Brady and Manning, or I think the new one is Mahomes and Allen probably.
Yeah.
So I feel like this is one of the greatest in any sport ever, where it's Ovechkin and Crosby. They've been linked together their entire careers, and they've both been elite, out of this world players in what they do. So I think that this is one of the best ones ever. The 2023 World Junior semifinals are tonight. You have Czechia versus Sweden and the U.S. versus Canada. I think the winner of the U.S. versus Canada probably wins gold, but I wouldn't be 100% sure of that. Canada, Connor Bedard, who's going to be the #1 pick in the 2023 draft, has just been lighting it up. He's already set the record for the most points by a Canadian player all time in World Juniors. I think he's got 33 points in the last 2. So
Czechia. So it's Czech Republic, and who are they now combined with?
I think didn't they just change their name, or is
I didn't know if it
changed their name.
I didn't know if they combined with somebody now, or
I think it's just changed. But yeah, should be interesting. Interesting games tonight. NHL stat leaders through January 3rd. Yeah,
we
added some stuff. Yeah, added some wrinkles into this to get a little bit more dynamic and more info. The points leader, no surprise, is still Connor McDavid. He has 73 points. He's plus 15 ahead of the next guy, and I think the next guy is his teammate Leon Draisaitl. I think he's still second,
yes.
But he's gonna it's gonna take him 5 more games, and he's gonna be above a point per game for an 82-game season. So it's just so stupid.
And then. This we had in was defenseman points. Is Erik Karlsson from San Jose at 53, 11 ahead.
Rookie point leader is no surprise Matty Beniers from Seattle, 27 points. He's 5 points ahead of the next guy.
Which I believe is Marco
Rossi
or Matthias.
Oh, Matthias Michelli from Arizona. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty surprising that he's played this well.
Well, we'll get to him.
Yeah.
Goals, Connor McDavid, 33, 3 ahead.
Who's second in goals, I wonder? Is it Ovechkin or Tage Thompson? It's got to be one of
those. Tage Thompson.
Yeah, he had 3 last night. Defenseman goals is Erik Karlsson with 13. He's 3 ahead of the next guy.
And rookie goals, Matty Beniers, 12, 1 ahead.
Assists, Connor McDavid with 40. He's tied with Kucherov of Tampa and Carlson of San Jose as well with 40.
Yeah, so the D-man assist is Erik Karlsson at 40. He's 4 ahead. He's just leading all 3 in defense.
Yeah, and he's playing on a bad San Jose team, and I wonder if he could be maybe a big trade name. Probably not. I don't think they would trade him. The contract's still really high, but who knows? Rookie assist leader is Matias Michelli from Arizona with 19. He's 4 ahead of the next guy. Great season for him.
Go with Linus Ullmark at 21, 2 ahead.
And then he also leads in save percentage amongst goalies with 939. He's 0.011 ahead of the next guy.
And then team point leaders, the Bruins, 29, 4-4, 62 points, 6 ahead.
Who's second, I wonder? Is it
I think it's Carolina.
Yeah.
And then I was trying to add some more goal things, but it was like shutouts, and there was like 4 guys tied at 3.
Yeah, that's always a tough stat. Usually nobody pulls away there. College football, you got the college football playoff going down. You had Michigan losing to TCU 51-45, and then you had Georgia
in a shootout.
Yeah, Georgia beats Ohio State. What was that, 42-41 or 41-40, something like that?
Yeah.
Both exciting games. Maybe the two combined, like in any playoff, usually both games aren't always this close and good, but that was the case here.
Max Duggan played great.
Yeah, Michigan's defense was brutal.
His receiver had like 9 catches, had that one sweet move in the open field, took off.
Yeah. And then obviously McCarthy threw 2 pick sixes for Michigan. Just a tough one there. And it looks like Harbaugh might be headed back to the NFL finally. It seems like the reports right now are more serious than they have been in the last few years.
Yeah, supposedly met with
Welcome to Denver or Carolina.
Yeah, I heard he met with the Panthers GM.
And if there's an offer, they think he'll take it, but who knows? And then, in terms of Georgia, Ohio State, Stroud was great. Stetson Bennett was not great, but when it mattered that last drive, he delivered. And then
Ohio State losing Marvin Harrison at half.
Yeah, and then the kick, Ruggles kick from Ohio State, not even close. Tough one there.
No, he pulled the heck out of that. But also, I think Ohio State was hurt with their top receiver not playing in this game as well.
Smith and Jigba and Trevion Henderson, running back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good games, though. Really good games. So now you have the national title game. We'll make a pick on that. January 9th.
Next Monday at SoFi Stadium.
Interesting. Yeah. So this game won't end until like 1 a.m. Eastern time probably, just because they'll be dragging it out because it's Pacific time.
And then Mississippi State beats Illini Monday in honor of their coach, Mike Leach.
Yeah, obviously a tight game there. Illinois' offense struggling. It was really 13-10. They had kind of a touchdown to cover the spread late. That was on a lateral play, but a good game, and props to Mississippi State getting it done there. All right, let's do the picks. Last week for me, not good. 11-12, really struggled in pretty much every sport. The NHL is the only one where I was over 500, so not great.
I went 15-8. I was 0-2 in the NBA, 2-0 in hockey, 5-1 in college hoops, 5-2 in the NFL, and 3-3 in college football. I lost the Orange Bowl because Tennessee decided to beat Clemson.
Yeah, I lost that one too.
And then I lost the Peach Bowl because I had Georgia -6.5, and then I lost the USC game because they blew the game.
Don't play defense, yeah. The only bowl games that I got right were Tulane and Ohio State covering.
Penn State, Nittany Lions, baby. Sean Clifford tied Penn State's record for wins.
Well, if Cam Rising
tied Trace McSorley.
If Cam Rising doesn't get hurt, I mean, let's be honest, Utah probably wins that game. But anyway.
Hey, just give me something here.
You got the Winter Classic as well. I mean,
Yeah,
all right.
I meant like Penn State, they've lost the Rose Bowl. Like the game, Saquon went off against USC, and then they gave up a last-second touchdown.
You got one. There you go.
So now I'm sitting at 661 and 529.
I am 649 and 513. I need to make a move this week. All right, Century Tournament of Champions, Kapalua, Hawaii. Should be a really fun tournament. Back into the swing of things with golf. Who you got?
To win, I have Patrick Cantlay plus 1,000, Justin Thomas plus 1,100, and Tony Finau plus 1,400.
I'm taking Justin Thomas.
I picked JP because he's been playing more than anybody. He played in the match, he played in the PNC.
Yeah, he won. He's won twice here, I think, once or twice. Plus 1,100, I'll take him as well. Give me Sung JM plus 1,800, and Zalatoris coming off of injury. I don't know how he's going to be, but plus 2,500, I'll take it. Why not? Maybe sneak in a win there.
Top 5, I have Victor Hovland at plus 350.
I have Xander Schauffele at plus 190.
Top 10, I have Matt Fitzpatrick at plus 140.
I'll take Cameron Young plus 140. And props to me for not picking Max Homa or Jordan Spieth. I'll just say that. It might be the first tournament I've ever done that.
And then we did a top 20 pick, but we made it where you had to pick a guy who had a plus odds in there, and there was only 10 of them in the field. I picked Sepp Straka plus 170.
I picked a guy with the same initials. I picked Scott Stallings plus 140.
Oh, when I figured I'd text you the Tom Hogue thing, I thought you were going to do it.
No, I thought you would do it. So
well, no, because you voted him away from me, so I don't pick him anymore.
We'll both not pick him, and he'll probably win. All right, let's do the NBA.
For tonight, I have the Warriors minus 6.5 over the Pistons, and the Kings minus 1 over the Hawks.
I'll take the Cavs minus 5 against the Suns and the Nets minus 4.5 at the Bulls. NHL Thursday.
I got Vegas minus 120 over the Penguins, just with their goaltending and everything now. And then the Avalanche minus 140 over the Canucks.
I'll take the Oilers minus 155 against the Islanders and the Kings plus 140 home against the Bruins. The Bruins, I'm not going to pick them. I'm not going to pick against them if they're at home, but on the road against a scrappy Kings team, I'll take it, I guess.
And they're on their West Coast trip where they normally struggle.
Yeah, I'm going to take it. College hoops, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Thursday, I have Indiana over Iowa, Fran McCaffrey's son is stepping away from the team for a little bit because of anxiety.
Yeah, best of luck to him, obviously. Tough situation.
And then I have UCLA over USC, which should be a good game.
I mean,
it's like 13-2 and 12-4.
I think UCLA is significantly better.
I just think it should be a good game.
Yeah, it will be. It's a Pac-12 conference game. Yeah, I took UCLA to beat USC. And I took Purdue over Ohio State, so we both went Big Ten, Pac-12.
Yeah, USC's 11-4, 3-1 in the Pac-12, and then USC's 13-12-4 now. So,
but if you get into it will be. But if you get into the nitty-gritty of the metrics, it's a different story.
I get you.
Like
Purdue USC versus Ohio State should be a good game.
Yeah, that will be. USC's 66th in Ken Palm metrics, and UCLA's 4th. But you never know. Friday.
Both Ivy League games. I got Cornell over Penn and Yale over Dartmouth.
I'm taking an Ivy League game, but not the ones that you took. I'll take Harvard over Brown, and I'll go over to the Metro Atlantic, and I'll take Iona over Marist.
And Saturday, I got UConn over Creighton, and New Mexico over UNLV.
I have UConn over Creighton as well. This will be a very fascinating game. Creighton came into the season as the highest-ranked Big East team. They get Kalkbrenner back. They destroyed Seton Hall last night. UConn coming off of a tough loss. I'll take UConn, and then I'll take Arkansas over Auburn. I think Arkansas could have a big week this week. They got Missouri and Auburn. They can win both of those games after losing to LSU. I think they'll be in a great spot.
There's a lot of decent games Saturday too.
Yeah, we're starting to get to that time of the year where every Saturday in college basketball is big time. Let's do the NFL. We'll save the college football national championship for last. The NFL.
No Thursday night football game. So we just picked 8 games, and then there's still the Bengals game is yet to be determined on when it's going to be played. If it's going to be Saturday, because you have the Chiefs at 3, the Titans Jags is the night game. So you don't know when they're playing the Bengals Ravens game, if it's going to be on Sunday or Saturday still.
Yeah.
So I took the Steelers -3 over the Browns, Bucks +4 over the Falcons, Texans +2.5 over the Colts, Cowboys -6.5 over the Commanders. I mean, the Cowboys should eat up a rookie quarterback. Their defense should.
Yeah.
Giants +14 over the Eagles, Chargers -3 over the Broncos, Bears +5.5 over the Vikings, and Lions +4.5 over the Packers.
I will take the Jags -6.5 against the Titans, Steelers -3 against the Browns, Dolphins +1 against the Jets, Giants +14 against the Eagles, 49ers -14 versus the Cardinals, Broncos +3 versus the Chargers, Cowboys -6.5 at the Commanders, and I will take the Packers -4.5 against the Lions.
You took the Broncos +3?
Yeah, I think that they're going to end the season with a win, and I don't think the Chargers are really playing for anything.
Oh, because they can't move up.
They could move down, I think, but
Yeah, they can move down because they're tied.
I mean, you're either playing the Jags or the Bills, so that is a pretty big difference.
Yeah, so
Jags or Bengals. But either way, the Broncos, why not? They got a pretty good defense. All right, college football national championship.
yeah, TCU versus Georgia. Georgia 12.5-point favorite. I'm gonna take TCU +12.5.
You know, normally I'd be like, okay, Georgia's going to kill them, but TCU has been
Yeah,
different.
I'm not saying TCU's winning the game, but that's a big spread, and TCU's offense has looked good.
I'm going to take TCU +12.5 to cover as well. I'll take it. Why not? Everything tells me to pick Georgia, but I'm taking TCU. We'll see. Should be a very interesting game. We'll break that down in next week's episode. We will be back next Wednesday for number 93, and we will see you next time.
Deuces.